Every morning began the same way. Claire Anderson woke up before sunrise, made 2 cups of coffee, one black, one with oat milk, and opened the balcony door to let in the cool Seattle air. The city below was quiet, caught between darkness and dawn. She always took that first sip of coffee before waking Ryan. They had been together for 3 years, and Claire still smiled every time she looked at him sleeping, his messy dark hair falling over his eyes, one arm draped lazily across the pillow. To her, Ryan Cooper was everything she had dreamed of: confident, affectionate, driven. He worked in real estate and always came home with wild stories about difficult clients and million-dollar listings. Their relationship looked picture-perfect from the outside. Friends called them the couple everyone wants to be. Claire believed she was one of the lucky ones. But in the quiet moments, she sometimes felt a strange distance, a flicker she couldn't name. It began subtly: the late-night messages he'd tilt his phone to hide, the faint smell of unfamiliar perfume, his sudden excuses for why he couldn't make their Friday date nights anymore. Each time, Ryan had an explanation, always smooth, always reasonable. "You worry too much," he'd say with a soft smile, kissing her forehead. "It's just work stress." And she'd nod, because Claire trusted him. Trust, she thought, was the foundation of love. But one Thursday night, when Ryan came home at nearly midnight claiming he'd been at a networking dinner, she noticed something new. His shirt was wrinkled, his tie undone, and there was a faint trace of scented oil on his collar. Not cologne, but something earthy and floral. "What's that smell?" she asked. He blinked, then smiled easily. "Oh, probably from the restaurant. They had candles everywhere." Claire wanted to believe him. So she did. She didn't know then that her life, and everything she believed about love, loyalty, and truth, was about to unravel, one secret at a time. The following week, Claire's best friend Jenna noticed her distracted mood during lunch at the hospital. "Earth to Claire," Jenna said, snapping her fingers. "You've been staring at that salad for 10 minutes. Claire sighed. "It's Ryan. He's different lately." Jenna frowned. "Different how?" "He's distant, busy all the time. And I don't know, something feels off." Jenna leaned forward. "You think he's cheating?" Claire's heart skipped. "No. No, not that. He wouldn't." Jenna raised an eyebrow. "Honey, men can surprise you." Claire wanted to laugh it off, but the unease inside her grew. That night, when Ryan's phone buzzed on the counter, she glanced, just for a second. The notification said, "Zen Haven Therapy, reminder, Thursday 7 p.m. "Zen Haven," she muttered aloud. Ryan appeared from the bedroom, hair damp from the shower. "What's that?" "Oh, just an appointment reminder," she said quickly, pretending it was hers. He didn't question it. But something about the calmness in his face when she said that made her heart ache. He wasn't nervous. He wasn't caught. Which somehow made it worse, as if lying had become second nature to him. That night, she couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, her mind replayed the words, Zen Haven Therapy. It sounded innocent, but her instincts screamed otherwise. By morning, curiosity won. She opened her laptop and searched. The first page looked normal, a sleek website offering relaxation and stress relief. But when she clicked deeper, the language changed: intimate connection sessions. Complete satisfaction guaranteed. Her chest tightened. Her stomach turned. She stared at the screen until the words blurred. Then she shut the laptop. No. She must be wrong. There had to be another explanation. But that seed of doubt had taken root, and she could feel it spreading through her like poison. Days passed. Claire tried to shake the suspicion, to lose herself in work. But every time Ryan came home late, every time he silenced a call or left the room to answer it, her heart raced. One evening, after he fell asleep, she reached for his phone. Her hand trembled. She had never invaded his privacy before, but tonight, something inside her snapped. The phone was locked. She tried his birthday. Wrong. Their anniversary. Wrong again. A knot formed in her chest. He had changed his passcode. She sat in the dark, staring at the device in her hand, until guilt forced her to put it back. The next morning, Ryan kissed her goodbye before heading to work. Late showing tonight, he said casually.
Okay, she murmured, forcing a smile.
But when the door closed behind him, she sat down at his desk. His laptop was still open. Her fingers hovered, trembling, before she searched his email. Receipts. Dozens of them. Zen Haven Therapy, 90-minute session. Blue Orchid Spa, 2-hour deep relaxation. Cash preferred. Her vision blurred. She clicked one message at random, a confirmation dated almost 2 years ago. 2 whole years. Her breath came in short, sharp bursts. She closed the laptop and stared at the wall. Ryan had been living another life, right under her nose, while holding her hand, telling her she was his peace, his home, his love. When he came home that night, she said nothing. She cooked dinner. She laughed at his jokes. She kissed him good night. And then she cried herself to sleep beside him, wondering when love had turned into lies. It was Jenna who pushed her to confront him. You can't keep pretending, Claire, she said over coffee. You have the evidence. You deserve answers. I'm scared, Claire whispered. What if it destroys everything? Jenna met her eyes. It already did. That night, when Ryan walked through the door, she was waiting in the living room, laptop open, emails displayed. What's this? She asked quietly. He froze. Where did you get that? It doesn't matter. Just tell me what it is. He rubbed his jaw. It's not what it looks like. She let out a bitter laugh. Don't insult me, Ryan. These are receipts from spas that advertise complete satisfaction. You've been paying for sex. He shook his head, voice rising. They're massages. I was stressed. It doesn't mean anything. Tears welled in her eyes. For 2 years. He ran a hand through his hair, avoiding her gaze. It's complicated. No, she said softly. It's simple. You lied. The air between them crackled. Ryan muttered. You wouldn't understand. You're gone half the time at that hospital. I needed something. The words hit her like a slap. So it's my fault, she whispered. He didn't answer. That silence told her everything. Claire didn't remember the next few moments clearly, only fragments. The sound of her voice breaking, his defensive tone, the dull ache in her chest that grew until she could barely breathe. She packed a bag that night. Ryan tried to stop her. You're overreacting. Don't throw this away over nothing. Nothing, she choked out. You paid strangers to touch you, for years, and you call it nothing? He looked at her, guilt flickering behind his eyes. I didn't love them. That's supposed to make me feel better? He reached for her, but she stepped back. Don't touch me. When she finally left, she didn't cry. Not yet. The tears came later in Jenna's guest room, when the reality hit, that everything she thought she knew was gone. She curled under the blanket, staring at the ceiling. The man she trusted had betrayed her in the most intimate way imaginable. But somewhere in that darkness, a spark lit, faint but real. Maybe this wasn't the end of her story. Maybe it was the beginning of something she hadn't felt in a long time. Freedom. Claire woke the next morning with a heavy chest, her thoughts still tangled in last night's revelations. The sunlight spilling through the curtains did nothing to lighten the weight of betrayal pressing down on her. She could not let this lie go. She needed answers. She knew Ryan would not volunteer the truth willingly. That evening, she decided to confront him. When he walked through the door, as casual as ever, she held her gaze. We need to talk, she said calmly, though her fingers trembled slightly. He looked up from his phone, brow furrowed. About what? About the massages, she replied, sliding the laptop across the table. The ones you've been paying for, secretly, for over 2 years. Ryan froze, his usually confident posture suddenly rigid. For a fraction of a second, the mask slipped, revealing a flicker of panic. Then, just as quickly, he smiled, a practiced charm that had once melted her heart. It's not what it looks like, he said, voice steady. I swear. Claire felt the frustration build. Not what it looks like. Ryan, there are receipts, emails, confirmations. You've been hiding this from me for years. That's not a mistake. That's intentional. He ran a hand through his hair. Claire, you're blowing this out of proportion. They're just massages. Nothing happened. It's therapy, stress relief. You're reading too much into it. Her laugh was sharp and bitter. Therapy? For 2 years, every few weeks? You expect me to believe it was just stress relief? Ryan's eyes flashed with anger now. You don't understand. My father died, my job is stressful, and I needed something. It wasn't about you not being enough. Claire's chest tightened, anger and grief colliding. Not about me. Ryan, you built an entire secret life. You lied to me, deceived me, touched other women in ways I can barely imagine, and you say it's not about me. He tried to reach for her hand, but she recoiled. Don't touch me. For a moment, neither spoke. The room seemed to shrink, the air thick with tension. She realized something crystal clear. Ryan wasn't remorseful for hurting her. He was remorseful only for being caught. Finally, she whispered, I can't do this. Not anymore. He took a step forward. Claire, please. Don't leave over this. We can work it out. She shook her head. No. This isn't about fixing us. This is about me realizing I can never trust you again. You've shattered that foundation, Ryan. And trust, once broken, cannot be rebuilt. Her voice grew firmer. I'm leaving. And you stay here and live with your secrets. The words echoed in the apartment, solid and final. Claire did not go home that night. She stayed with Jenna, her best friend and lifeline. Yet, the gnawing questions persisted. Who were these women Ryan had been paying? Were they mere service providers, or had he found emotional connection in ways he had withheld from her? Then a message appeared on her Instagram from an anonymous account. You don't know me, but I think we need to talk about Ryan Cooper. Attached was a photo, Ryan, smiling at a spa reception, a young woman standing next to him, her arm casually touching his shoulder. Her pulse quickened. The woman's name was Mia Carter. Claire agreed to meet her at a small cafe outside the city. Mia arrived, nervous, hair pulled back in a messy bun, hoodie loose over her frame. I didn't know he had a girlfriend, Mia said immediately, voice low. I thought he was single. I wouldn't have seen him otherwise. Claire's heart thudded painfully. How long? Over 1.5 years, Mia admitted. He came every few weeks. Sometimes for massages, sometimes just company. He was lonely, I think. I didn't understand at first. Claire felt bile rise in her throat. Did anything happen? Mia hesitated, then nodded. Yes, physically. But I stopped months ago. I couldn't do it knowing he had someone. The confession hit like a hammer. Rage, hurt, humiliation, all tangled together. Yet Mia's honesty brought clarity. At least now, Claire knew the full extent of Ryan's deception. Thank you, Claire whispered. I needed to hear the truth. Mia's eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry. I really am. For the first time since the discovery, Claire felt a sliver of peace. The lies were out in the open. Returning home, Claire found Ryan waiting on the couch, eyes bloodshot, unshaven. Where have you been? He demanded. I got the truth, she said quietly. From her. Who? From Mia. The woman you've been seeing. He flinched, a flicker of guilt crossing his features. Then anger. You spoke to her? How dare you? Yes, Claire said firmly. I had to. You left me no choice. The argument spiraled. Words flew sharp as knives. Every memory she had of love and trust now felt poisoned. You're overreacting, Ryan yelled. I'm done. Claire snapped. You've broken us. You've broken me. And I will not forgive you. Not for this. He looked at her, stunned. For the first time, his confidence faltered. Claire. Go, she said, voice steady. Leave. He did, slamming the door behind him. The echo of it reverberated in her chest, but for the first time, she felt a flicker of freedom. Weeks passed. Claire returned to her routine, trying to rebuild herself. She threw herself into work at the hospital, focusing on patients and long shifts that made her forget the ache in her heart. Jenna stayed close, offering coffee, laughter, and the kind of support only true friendship can provide. It wasn't easy. Some nights, she cried quietly in bed, haunted by memories of Ryan, his touch, his smile, the little lies that had piled up over years. Yet slowly, she began to feel stronger. One evening, Dr. Ethan Cole, a colleague she respected and quietly trusted, stopped by her apartment. "I heard what happened," he said softly. "I just wanted to check if you're okay." Claire nodded, tears threatening to fall. "I'm surviving." They spoke for hours, about work, hopes, fears, life, and for the first time in months, Claire laughed. Not forced, not hollow. Real laughter. Healing, she realized, was not about erasing pain. It was about moving through it. Then, one evening, a message arrived from Ryan. "I'm sorry. I'm in therapy. Can we talk?" Claire read it, hands trembling slightly. She stared at the screen for a long time. Then, with a deep breath, she deleted the message. Blocked his number. She wasn't angry anymore. She was resolute. Claire began journaling, pouring every thought, every ache, and every lesson into her writing. It was cathartic, necessary. One day, she reread an old note Ryan had left her. "You're my everything." She smiled softly, tears in her eyes, and tore it in half. She wasn't his everything anymore. She was her own. Claire awoke to the soft light of early morning, the apartment quiet except for the faint hum of the refrigerator. She stretched, feeling muscles she hadn't used in weeks. Each movement reminded her she was alive, truly alive, in a way she hadn't felt when Ryan was still part of her life. Her healing had begun slowly, almost imperceptibly. The tears had stopped coming in fits. Instead, she journaled longhand, letting her thoughts spill across pages with raw honesty. She wrote about betrayal, trust, anger, and heartbreak, but also about resilience. Jenna noticed the change almost immediately. "You're glowing," she said one afternoon, handing Claire a cup of tea. "It's like you finally stopped carrying his weight." Claire smiled softly. "I've started remembering who I am, who I've always been. Not the version of me that existed for him, but me. Independent, strong, capable." At work, she began volunteering for projects she had previously avoided. She joined community outreach programs, organizing health workshops for underprivileged families. The sense of purpose, of making a difference, filled a hole that Ryan's betrayal had carved in her chest. Evenings were still hard sometimes. Certain smells or sounds would evoke memories of him, his cologne, the creak of the apartment door. But each time, she confronted the memory rather than running from it. "That was him," she whispered quietly to herself. "Not me. Not anymore." She met Dr. Ethan Cole more often, purely as a friend, but their conversations deepened. He never tried to rush her heart or offer advice she didn't ask for. Instead, he mirrored her growth, becoming a steady presence in her life, a reminder that human connection could be safe and nurturing. And slowly, tentatively, she began to trust herself again. Months later, Claire received a letter in her mailbox. The handwriting was familiar. Mia's. "I just wanted to thank you for handling things the right way. I've left that job behind. I'm studying massage therapy legitimately now. Your courage reminded me that honesty matters." Claire held the letter, a wave of relief and calm washing over her. She realized that even those who had been part of Ryan's deception could learn from the consequences, could change. That night, she penned a response. "Mia, I'm glad you're on a better path. It's never too late to do the right thing. Keep moving forward." The small act of closure brought an unexpected peace. She hadn't needed Ryan's apology, Mia's confession, or anyone else's validation to heal. She had needed herself. And now, she had found her own strength. One weekend, Claire attended a local art class, something she had always wanted to do but never made time for. She painted long strokes across the canvas, letting colors blend freely, representing her tumultuous emotions. By the end, she held her finished piece, vibrant, chaotic, yet beautiful. "It's amazing," Jenna said, looking at the painting. "You captured everything, pain, fear, and hope." Claire nodded. I finally feel like I can create something purely for me,
without fear of judgment, without remembering betrayal.
As the months passed, Claire slowly let herself laugh more freely, savor meals, take spontaneous walks, and embrace quiet evenings. The emptiness Ryan left behind transformed into a canvas of self-discovery. On a rainy afternoon, Claire ran into Ryan at the grocery store. He looked worn, his once confident posture slightly hunched, eyes avoiding hers.
"Claire," he called softly.
She stopped.
"Ryan."
For a moment, silence stretched between them. Then he said, "I'm in therapy.
"I'm trying to be better."
Claire studied him, noting the fatigue and remorse etched into his features. "I hope you are," she replied. "But this is no longer my responsibility." He nodded, swallowing something. "You look happy." "I am," she said, a genuine smile spreading across her face.
"I've been learning to live for me."
They parted without anger, without words of recrimination. She realized then that some people leave your life so you can fully step into yourself. A year after the breakup, Claire woke before dawn and brewed her coffee. She stepped onto her balcony, watching the sun rise over the city skyline. The pink and gold hues reflected her own sense of renewal. For the first time, she breathed deeply and smiled, not out of relief, not out of anger, but out of contentment. She had survived the deepest betrayal imaginable. She had confronted lies, embraced pain, and reclaimed herself. Her scars remained, faint reminders of the journey she endured. But they no longer defined her. Instead, they symbolized strength.
Claire whispered to the morning sky, "I am free."
And in that quiet moment, she meant it fully. For the first time in years, she felt whole, unshackled, and ready to embrace life on her own terms.